What happens when Hollywood royalty meets actual royalty, and everything goes catastrophically wrong? You won't believe what unfolds when Meghan Markle sits down with Jennifer Hudson for what was supposed to be a simple conversation about her latest projects, but instead becomes an explosive confrontation that ends with security being called and a guest storming off set. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because you're not going to believe what unfolds. Last night's episode of The Jennifer Hudson Show started innocently enough. The studio audience was buzzing with anticipation as Jennifer walked onto the brightly lit stage, flashing her signature warm smile. She was wearing a stunning emerald green blazer that perfectly complemented the show's colorful set design. The cameras rolled as she delivered her opening monologue with the kind of effortless charm that made her a household name. "Tonight, we have a very special guest joining us," Jennifer announced to the enthusiastic crowd. "She's an actress, a humanitarian, a mother, and yes, a member of the British royal family. Please welcome Meghan Markle." The applause was polite but notably reserved as Meghan emerged from backstage, wearing an all-black ensemble that seemed deliberately understated compared to Jennifer's vibrant outfit. There was something in Meghan's demeanor from the very beginning, a certain stiffness in her smile, a calculated precision in her wave to the audience that suggested she had an agenda beyond simple promotion. As Meghan settled into the plush interview chair, Jennifer's producer could be heard through her earpiece, reminding her to keep things light and positive. The plan was straightforward: discuss Meghan's upcoming Netflix projects, touch on her charitable work, maybe share a few heartwarming stories about her children. What nobody anticipated was that Meghan had come prepared for something entirely different. "So Meghan, let's start with your latest project," Jennifer began, leaning forward with genuine interest. "I understand you're working on some exciting new content for Netflix. Can you tell us about that?" Meghan's response was immediate and pointed. "Well, Jennifer, before we talk about my work, I think it's important to address something that's been bothering me. I've noticed that your show, like so many others in American media, has been perpetuating certain narratives about me and my family that simply aren't true." The studio audience fell silent. Jennifer's smile faltered slightly, but she maintained her professional composure. "I'm sorry. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. We're here to celebrate your achievements and—" "Are we though?" Meghan interrupted, her voice taking on a sharper edge. "Because from what I've seen, this show has had multiple segments discussing my relationship with the royal family, often featuring guests who have never even met me, spreading lies and speculation." Jennifer glanced toward her producer, who was frantically gesturing from behind the cameras. This wasn't in the pre-interview notes. Nobody had mentioned anything about confrontation or controversy. "Meghan, I think there might be some misunderstanding here. We've always tried to be fair and balanced in our coverage." "Fair and balanced?" Meghan laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Jennifer, you had Piers Morgan on this very show 3 months ago, and he spent 20 minutes trashing me without a single person pushing back on his lies. How is that fair and balanced?" The tension in the studio was palpable now. Audience members were shifting uncomfortably in their seats, and the production team was clearly scrambling. Jennifer tried to regain control of the situation. "Look, Meghan, I understand you might have concerns about media coverage, but perhaps we could focus on the positive things you're doing." "No, Jennifer, I don't think we should just gloss over this," Meghan said, her voice rising slightly. "This is exactly the problem. Everyone wants to silence me, wants me to just smile and nod and pretend like the vicious attacks on my character and my family don't matter. Well, I'm not going to do that anymore." Jennifer was clearly caught off guard. In all her years of hosting, she'd never had a guest essentially hijack an interview in the opening minutes. "Meghan, I respect your feelings, but this isn't what we agreed to discuss today. Our viewers tuned in to hear about your projects and your positive impact." "My positive impact?" Meghan's voice was getting louder now, and she was leaning forward in her chair. "How can I have a positive impact when shows like this one constantly undermine me? When you give platforms to people who spread hatred about me and then act surprised when I call it out?" The studio was dead quiet except for the soft whirring of cameras. Jennifer looked genuinely confused and frustrated. "Meghan, I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea where this is coming from. We invited you here in good faith to promote your work. If you have specific issues with past segments, Perhaps we could have addressed those privately. Privately? Meghan stood up slightly in her chair, her composure beginning to crack. Everything is always supposed to be private, isn't it? That's how the system works. They attack you publicly, and then when you defend yourself, they tell you to handle it privately. Well, I'm done with that shit. The curse word hung in the air like a bomb. Jennifer's eyes widened, and several audience members gasped. The production team was in full panic mode now, with multiple people speaking frantically into their headsets. But Meghan wasn't finished. The floodgates had opened, and everything she'd apparently been holding back was starting to pour out. What happened next would make television history, but not in the way anyone had planned. Jennifer took a deep breath, trying to salvage what was left of her show's reputation. Okay, Meghan, I can see you're upset, and I want to understand, but you just used profanity on live television, and frankly, you're attacking me and my show without giving me a chance to respond properly. Oh, so now I'm attacking you? Meghan's voice was dripping with sarcasm. That's rich, Jennifer. That's exactly what they always do. Turn the victim into the aggressor. I come on here trying to have an honest conversation about the damage your show has done to my reputation, and suddenly, I'm the one attacking you. The audience was completely captivated now, phones discreetly recording despite the no-phone policy. This wasn't just entertainment anymore. This was a career-defining moment for both women, and everyone could feel it. Jennifer's famous patience was clearly being tested. Meghan, I've been nothing but respectful to you. I invited you onto my platform. I've never said anything negative about you personally, and yet you're sitting here acting like I'm your enemy. What exactly do you want from me? What do I want? Meghan laughed bitterly. I want accountability, Jennifer. I want you to admit that your show has contributed to the toxic narrative about me. I want you to acknowledge that you've given a platform to people who have spread lies about my mental health, my relationship with my family, my children. Meghan, we report news. We discuss current events. If people have opinions, Meghan's voice cracked with emotion. These aren't opinions, Jennifer. These are coordinated attacks designed to destroy me and my family. And shows like yours amplify them because it gets you ratings. Jennifer's producer was making frantic cutting motions from behind the camera, but Jennifer ignored him. Something in Meghan's accusation had clearly struck a nerve. You know what, Meghan? I've had enough of this. You don't get to come onto my show and attack my integrity. I've worked my ass off to build this platform, and I've always tried to be fair. Fair? Meghan stood up from her chair completely now, towering over Jennifer, who remained seated. You want to talk about fair? Let's talk about the segment where you discussed my father's relationship with the tabloids. Did you reach out to me for comment? Did you try to get my side of the story? Or did you just let your guests speculate about my family trauma for entertainment? The studio was electric with tension. Jennifer's security team was positioning themselves closer to the set, and several audience members were openly recording on their phones now, having given up any pretense of following the rules. Jennifer stood up as well, matching Meghan's energy. You're damn right we discussed it, because it was news. Your father was selling stories to the press, and it was affecting the royal family. That's not speculation. That's reporting facts. Facts? Meghan's voice was getting shrill now. The fact is that my father was being manipulated by the same media that you're part of. The fact is that he was struggling with mental health issues and being exploited for profit. But did your show mention that? Did you show any compassion for what my family was going through? Meghan, we can't control what your family does. No, but you can control how you report it. Meghan was practically shouting now. You can choose not to give platforms to people who make money off of tearing down a mixed-race woman who had the audacity to marry a prince. The racial element hung heavy in the air. Jennifer's expression changed, becoming more serious and guarded. Meghan, if you're suggesting that race has anything to do with how we cover stories, I'm not suggesting anything, Jennifer. I'm telling you directly. The coverage of me has been racially motivated from day one, and shows like yours perpetuate it by treating racist commentary as legitimate journalism. Jennifer's hands were clenched into fists at her sides. That is absolutely not true, and it's insulting to suggest that I would be part of any racist narrative. I'm a black woman, Meghan. I understand prejudice. Do you? Meghan interrupted. Because from where I'm sitting, It looks like you've been perfectly comfortable profiting off the same system that tears down women of color when we don't stay in our designated lanes." The accusation hit Jennifer like a physical blow. Her mouth opened and closed several times before she found her voice. "How dare you? How dare you question my commitment to supporting women of color? I've used my platform to elevate voices, to create opportunities. For everyone except me, apparently." Meghan shot back. "When was the last time you had someone on this show who defended me? When was the last time you challenged the lies that get spread about me?" Jennifer was pacing now, her composure completely shattered. "You know what your problem is, Meghan? You can't handle criticism. You married into the most famous family in the world, and you thought everyone was just going to worship you. Well, newsflash, that's not how the world works. Criticism?" Meghan's voice was reaching a dangerous pitch. "You call fabricated stories about me making Kate cry criticism? You call speculation about my mental health criticism? You call questioning whether my children are really Harry's biological kids criticism? I never—" Jennifer started, but Meghan cut her off. "Your show hasn't directly said those things, but you've had guests who have, and you've let them say it without pushback. That makes you complicit, Jennifer. That makes you part of the machine that's trying to destroy me." The tension had reached a breaking point. Jennifer's security team was moving closer, and her producer was frantically speaking into his headset, clearly trying to figure out how to end this disaster. But neither woman seemed capable of backing down now, and what happened next would seal both their fates. Jennifer's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper, her eyes blazing with fury. "You want to know the truth, Meghan? The real truth? You came on this show looking for a fight. This whole victim act is just another performance, isn't it? Another chance to play the poor, misunderstood princess." Meghan's face went white, then flushed red with rage. "Performance? You think my pain is a fucking performance? You think the death threats against my children are a performance? You think the racist attacks on my mother are a performance? I think you use your pain as a weapon." Jennifer shot back, no longer caring about cameras or consequences. "I think you manipulate every situation to make yourself the victim. Even now, even here, you can't just have a normal conversation without turning it into some grand persecution narrative." The audience was dead silent, watching what felt like a car crash in slow motion. Several people had their hands over their mouths in shock, while others were leaning forward, not wanting to miss a single word of this unprecedented meltdown. Meghan took a step closer to Jennifer, her voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "You know what, Jennifer? You're right about one thing. I did come here looking for something. I came here looking for basic human decency, looking for someone in media who might actually give a damn about the truth. But instead, I found another sellout who's more interested in protecting her ratings than protecting her integrity." "Sellout?" Jennifer's voice cracked with indignation. "I've been in this industry longer than you've been famous, sweetheart. I've earned my place here through talent and hard work, not by marrying into it." The low blow hung in the air like poison. Meghan's composure finally snapped completely. "There it is. There's the real Jennifer Hudson, the one who thinks I haven't earned anything, who thinks I'm just some opportunist who lucked into royalty. Well, let me tell you something. I was working. I was building a career. I was making a difference long before I met Harry." "Were you, though?" Jennifer taunted, her professional mask completely gone now. "Because from what I remember, you were a supporting actress on a cable show that nobody watched. Let's not pretend you were some A-list star who gave it all up for love." Meghan's hands were shaking now, and for a moment, it looked like she might actually lunge at Jennifer. The security guards tensed, ready to intervene. "You petty, jealous bitch," Meghan hissed. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You can't stand that I found something bigger than this shallow, toxic industry that you're so desperate to stay relevant in." "Jealous?" Jennifer laughed harshly. "Jealous of what? Your train wreck of a public life? Your family drama playing out in tabloids? Your husband who can't go 5 minutes without whining about his childhood? Yeah, I'm really jealous of all that dysfunction." The mention of Harry seemed to be the final straw. Meghan's voice became deadly quiet, more menacing than when she'd been shouting. "Don't you dare talk about my husband. Don't you dare talk about my family. You don't know anything about us, about what we've been through, about what we've sacrificed." "Sacrificed?" Jennifer was relentless now. sensing she'd found Meghan's breaking point. You sacrificed what exactly? Royal duties? Royal obligations? Seems to me like you got the title and the money, and then ran away when things got difficult. Meghan stood completely still for a moment, and the silence was more terrifying than all the shouting had been. When she finally spoke, her voice was ice cold. You know what, Jennifer? This conversation is over. You've shown exactly who you are, and frankly, I'm embarrassed for you. I'm embarrassed that I thought you might be different. She started to remove her microphone, her movements sharp and angry. Jennifer, drunk on adrenaline and fury, couldn't let it end there. Oh, that's right. Run away. Just like you ran away from England when people started asking real questions. Just like you'll run away from this interview when you can't control the narrative. Meghan froze, her back to Jennifer, microphone halfway off. When she turned around, her expression was terrifyingly calm. You want to know why I'm leaving, Jennifer? It's not because I can't handle criticism. It's not because I'm running away. It's because I refuse to waste another second of my life on someone who has so little respect for herself that she'll attack another woman just for ratings. She ripped the microphone off completely and threw it on the floor, the feedback screeching through the studio speakers. You can air this if you want. Edit it however makes you feel better about yourself. But know this, everyone watching will see exactly what kind of person you really are. Jennifer's producer was frantically signaling to cut to commercial, but Jennifer ignored him, taking one final shot. The only thing people will see is a spoiled princess who couldn't handle being held accountable. Meghan paused at the edge of the set, turning back with a smile that was pure venom. Accountable for what, Jennifer? For telling my truth? For refusing to be bullied by the British press? For protecting my children from the same racism that apparently lives in your heart too? She shook her head in disgust. You're pathetic. And what's worse, you're not even good at being pathetic. With that final devastating blow, Meghan walked off the set, her heels clicking against the studio floor like gunshots. The audience sat in stunned silence as security guards trailed behind her, making sure she made it out of the building safely. Jennifer stood alone on her set, chest heaving, makeup smeared, career possibly in ruins. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every moment of her humiliation. Her producer was screaming in her earpiece to say something, anything, to salvage the situation. But Jennifer just stood there, watching the doorway where Meghan had disappeared, finally understanding that she had just participated in the destruction of everything she'd worked to build. The silence stretched on until finally, mercifully, someone cut to commercial. When the show returned, Jennifer's chair sat empty, and a visibly shaken announcer explained that they were experiencing technical difficulties and would return with regularly scheduled programming. But everyone knew the truth. They had just witnessed one of the most explosive confrontations in television history, and nothing would ever be the same again.